So I want to welcome everybody to the fifth class of the Casey Samson Team Masters Series. Today, fifth class is going to be about a marketing plan, okay? And to bring everybody up to date on where we are, our first class was on messaging. What is the message that we're getting out to the general public? What is the message that we want to maintain as we're going through our listing presentations and working with buyers? What's the message you tell everybody in the grocery store? So that's very important because that is a part of that phase one of prospecting and messaging. So when we did the first class on prospecting, we gave everybody, it was all about message, market, delivery systems. And you're going to see that in action today. It's very funny because when we're talking about prospecting, then you're going after new clients and you're doing message, market, delivery system for new clients. This is going directly for buyers. So when we're working with marketing plan, we are doing message, market, and delivery system directly for buyers. And I'll show you how it all comes together and what campaigns we put together for that. But so as far as the second class was concerned, and I think you should go back and do that because all the time we're all trying to get clients. So that is a part of your prospecting section. The third one, which is really, in my opinion, one of the most important ones, and that is, we have the client, we have a meeting set. Now we need to price this house. And this is where most deals go south. They overprice. The sellers want a higher price. Either they knew or didn't know. The websites are directing you in a direction that is far different than what the value of the house is worth. We pointed out that you have hungry agents that are telling sellers to price it higher because they're trying to buy the listing. So we went over all of the important things. You must sell in that first 10 days. And then the obstacles to that. The hungry agents that were overpricing, the websites that were telling prices all over the place. And then we focused in on what is the house really worth? How do you arrive at that value? So that was the third class, very important class. And then we went to a pricing model, and statistics can only tell half the story. It can only give you what is a customary value for that house. So then we talked on the next class, which is class 4, on, well, what are the upgrades? Is the condition of the house? What are our adjustments up or down? Now, to be honest with you, the house can go up or down 10%. So an $80,000, $800,000 house in really poor condition can easily sell for $700,000 to $725,000. So, but a good house, you could go from, we've had houses that were appraised at $750,000 sell for $850,000. Why? Upgrades in condition. So the fourth class was how do we adjust for condition and upgrades? And then what do we do to get a house ready? In other words, can you get away with, can you get away with 2008 paint? Hadn't been painted since 2008. Just wanted a listing appointment. 4 agents were competing for this listing. None of the agents said the house needed to be painted, and it was 2008 and showed it, and absolutely it had to be painted, but nobody wanted to say anything about it because the seller wasn't crazy about it. But we're not taking a listing unless it is painted. So, you've got to kind of have a standard to what a home's going to take to sell and stick to that. So that was class 4. Class 5 is today, marketing plan. Got a great setup for you today. I'm going to show you an actual marketing plan that we do when we walk into our listing presentations. Then after that, the next classes will be how do we predict whether I'm at the right price or not, how we do our negotiations, and then the final class is communications. Okay, so let's just go on real quick and talk about this, the class that we're on right now. So let me share my site with you. Grainy and lagging. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Casey, if you just make sure, like, Carol, if you want to disconnect from your Wi-Fi on your phone and your computer, that might help the bandwidth.
Okay, great. Thanks. We'll do that. Why don't you give me 5 seconds to get everybody off Wi-Fi in the house? Actually, I know why it is. I'll be right back. Everybody talk amongst yourself. Kevin?
Morgan, you're muted.
I know, calling from the other room is like, you do know you're muted, right?
Thanks, guys, for hanging in there with us. Hopefully, Casey will be back in just a second.
I just told my mom to poke her head in and tell him, so just a little laggy.
Hey, we've made it 5 classes so far without having really any problems, so that's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
so turn off all the computers, turn off the phones. Is that a little bit better? You can't hear me? Doing sign language? Huh?
We can hear you, and honestly, Casey, as long as everyone can hear you, I think that's really the most important thing. So.
Okay, good. Can you see the online?
I mean, to tell you
yes,
the truth,
see your presentation.
Dad, even you can see the presentation, maybe turn off your video because you keep freezing, but the presentation looks fine, so they can just hear your voice. And then, because it's just your video, that is the issue right now.
Okay. Got it. All right, so I turned off my video. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go through this presentation. This is the financing plan. So let's see where we are here. Now, as we all know, we've got my what?
Your video is still on and lagging.
You just have a second video. Now it's on your laptop.
There you go.
Okay.
You're
good.
You're good.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the business cycle of, let's get to the business cycle of a realtor's business cycle. So every listing we do is basically partnership. I partner with Morgan or Billy or Kelly or somebody, one of my agents, and Julie and Michelle are partners in this whole thing too. So there's basically 4 people involved. And the reason for that is everything is so specialized and there are so many programs to provide these services that you can't stay up to date on everything. So if I was going to get my shoulder operated on, I wouldn't go to a podiatrist. I'd go to a shoulder guy. If I was going to get, if you want a divorce, you wouldn't go to, a criminal defense attorney that gets you off for drunk driving. Everybody specializes, and what you have to do is put that together. Okay. So today we're talking about, the marketing plan. And this is a part of what I call the 3 pillars of a great listing. Okay. So this pillar is the marketing plan and tells them how we intend to get as many people as possible to their house. It starts, as everybody knows, with the pricing. So we price it where it should be. We adjust for upgrades and condition, and then we have the marketing plan. So these 3 items not only comprise the 3 pillars of building a good solid listing, but it prevented us from partnering with anyone outside of our team. So a lot of people wanted to partner, we could not. We needed to stay focused on what we were doing as a team. So here comes the coronavirus. It puts everybody on Zoom. It streamlines the way we do our business. And all of a sudden, this phase 2, these 3 pillars go from taking me 4 hours or 5 hours per listing to 1 hour per listing. And when you take into account all of your travel and meeting sellers and walking around houses and all of that, So the bottleneck of doing any more transactions was right here in this, 3 pillars or phase 2 of getting a listing ready. Now, that's been lifted. The bottleneck has been lifted. So now we bring in, now all of these tools all of our agents have access to these tools, because now we can do 4 times the business we were doing before. And now we can start bringing in partnerships. So when we talk about partnerships, again, every transaction you see on this list, we partner on. So I'm usually big, me, Julie, and Michelle are big in number 1. We are doing all the prospecting, we're doing all the marketing. Then I take over number 2, and I take that over with the help of one of our alt agents who's going to help me with condition and all of that stuff. The third phase, that's the Julie and Michelle thing. That Julie and Michelle are going to produce that listing based on the marketing plan we've developed. And number 4, that's where the alt agent takes over, and I rarely see them after that point. So basically, when we're talking about partnering with Samson agents, it's very simple. You bring a listing, put it on our doorstep and say, give me 25% and I'll see it payday. We take 2, 3, and 4 and we knock it out of the park. If you want to be involved in the transaction, then you bring the listing, I do the closing, we set the price, you work with an alt agent, I get the condition correct. Julie and Michelle do all of this work. We produce a listing that's going to sell, and you sell it. So you would basically be in the first part of finding the listing. You'd be in the last part of selling the listing. We handle everything in the middle. Okay. So that's the way it is now open. That's the event that's allowed this to happen. I think that, I just wrote a check for $10,800 to the last agent that we partnered with. And that was pretty successful. And that was a listing that was going down, and we saved it and got it and sold it in the first weekend, and everybody got paid. And I think everybody's happy on that. So sometimes you have a listing that you're struggling with. It's overpriced. How do you get the seller to drop the price? How do we convince the seller to drop the price? As I did with an agent the other day, we went in, we talked to the seller, we readjusted the price. It sold within the first week after we readjusted the price. And now that's on settlement, I think tomorrow or the next day. So that's on its way to settlement very quickly. So that's why we partner with the agents. I know agents want to take the whole way and do it all themselves and keep it all themselves, but I don't do one transaction by myself, none. Because I need an expert. I expect high standards in everything we do. So I need an expert in some fields. So I just as soon do what I do really good. I market, I get clients, I close clients, I price houses, I do the marketing plan, and away they go. So that's what we're going to do. That's the way the cycle is going to work. So let's get into, on this pricing, just as I'll throw this out, these are all the programs that you need to be an expert on in order to do cycle 2. So whether it's an expert on Excel, you need to be a real expert on it, or PowerPoint, or whatever it is, you can see down this list that you need to be an expert in every one of those if you want to survive number 2. If you want to look at number 3, I asked Julie and Michelle, I need the programs that you guys use to produce the listings in the quality format that we want them in. And as you can see, they lost me at Photoshop. I'm not going to live with Photoshop or Canva or numbers or pages. This is all Greek to me. MailChimp, that's a Michelle thing. CRMs, GoDaddy, all the rest of this stuff. I want to be in the jet stream. I want to be looking for clients. I want to be looking for deals. I do not want to be figuring out how to do Google ads, or I don't want to figure out how to do Facebook business, or, that's where we partner. That's where we partner. We stay in the jet stream where we're finding all the clients and getting the business, or selling houses. That's the jet stream. And then we get all the mainstream stuff done, and people help us with that. So that's the way we can work. Either drop a listing off at our doorstep and we'll take it for 25%, or partner up with us, work through the process with us at 50%, and then 75% goes to you, 25% goes to us if you just need help with the pricing. So let's get on with today's event. So this is an actual marketing plan that we would do for a seller when we go in. And again, this is on Zoom. This is a part of our listing presentation. So here's our marketing plan for a house like Stryker. So the first thing that we're going to do is we look at, this may sound familiar to everybody, market, messages, and delivery system. So markets, okay? What is that? Well, that's who our buyers are. Who are they? Where are they? What's their age? You know, are they 30 somethings, 40 somethings, 50 somethings? Where do they work at? Where are their employment centers? You know, where are they coming from? You know, so the first group we look at for our market is buyers. The next market we look at are realtors. Well, they're easy. We have storage searches for all the realtors in the database. So we know who's looking for what, and we're sending out these really nice emails to them. So we're going after the realtors because 85% of the time they've got the clients. The renters in the school district, they're in that school district, they're in around that employment center, they've been renting for a year or two, the kids are in school, they don't want to take them out, so now they'd like to buy a house. So that's another market we need to be cognizant of. And neighbors, you know, if you're in Dominion Valley, people are either moving up or moving down, they're not moving out. So if you got a small house, you need a big house, then naturally, if I have a big house in the neighborhood, I'm marketing to all the small houses. If I got a small house, I'm marketing some of the big houses because the the kids may have graduated college and now they're gone. And now they need to downsize, okay? So it works both ways, up and down. So now we go after our messages. Well, basically we're looking at space, features, and function. So space, features, and function just means what are the key aspects of this house? How big is it? How old is it? What school district is it in? How big is the yard? Is it on well and septic? What are the key attributes of this? Then, what are the upgrades? Well, kitchens, master bedroom, bathrooms, exteriors, decks, pools, you know, whatever upgrades they have in this house, which make it more expensive than a customary house. Or what upgrades does it lack? Does it not have the upgrades of a customary house? So if that's the case, okay, now you've got to drop the price. I mean, if you got Formica countertops and everybody else has granite, then you got to drop the price. So, you know, we go up and down based on that. And then the condition, how current does the house look? And this is where we try and analyze and help. They need better stuff. If they need to come into 2020 and get out of 1985, we can show them how that works. That was the last class. That was class 4. The delivery systems. So custom web pages are critical because that's where we're trying to drive everybody to. They're going to find your house online, and it needs to be presented correctly. So we build these custom websites. So this website costs us about $15,000 to $20,000. The custom web pages for each house are designed by the same group that does the $20 million, $30 million houses in LA and Hollywood. So these are an important way to present the house. The social media, okay, how do we go after the buyers? We target them. We know who they are, how old they are, where they work, what their likes are. They've already been on Zillow. They've looked at houses at a certain size or a certain age. So we know who they are, and we go online and we hit them with social media blitzes. Realtors, easy. We send them nice emails. We know who they are. We have your email address. And if you're selling a $775,000 house, you may have that group of realtors. But there's a bigger group under 750. We got their emails too, because we track databases of what realtors have stored searches at different levels. Direct mail. The renters, real simple. I get in the school district. I do a radius around it. I find out who's renting in that area. They give us the, that will provide us the addresses for these renters, and boom, they'll get a card that says, hey, here's a house, space, feature, function. It's open. And if you buy this house from us, we'll give you a 1-point rebate, whether it's $16,000 or $8,000 or whatever it is. We're going to say it right on the card. What are we going to give you? So then we look at the brochures. So we build these beautiful brochures that you're going to see. And we're literally going to send that brochure to those houses. So if you're smaller than we are, you're going to get a brochure. If you're bigger than we are, you're going to get a brochure. Why? Maybe moving up, maybe moving down, don't want to leave the neighborhood. So now we see we've got markets, buyers, realtors, renters, and neighbors. We have messages, space, feature, function, upgrades, condition, special features of the house. And we have delivery systems. We're trying to get them to the web page, so that's beautiful. But to buyers, we're sending social media campaigns. Realtors, we're having email campaigns. Renters, we're having direct mail campaigns. and neighbors are also getting direct mail, only they're getting a different piece. They're getting the actual brochure. Now, why do we say that to them? They're also going to be sellers too. So they want to see how you're treating sellers. So we really don't do the print ads. Why are we not in print? Well, because 90% of the buyers are going to find their stuff online. We know that. And by the time we can get our houses an ad built and get them online, our houses are sold. I mean, you have to understand that 85% of our houses basically sell in the first weekend. So it moves so fast that we just don't have time for print. Now, don't get me wrong, print ads are awesome for you, for an agent. If you're trying to promote yourself or your brand, then by all means, take an ad out in a newspaper because that's where people are seen. But it's not to sell houses, it's just basically to promote the realtor. I have disclosed to sellers, like I may put an ad in, but that's not for you, that's for me. That's for me to get clients, not to sell your house. I've already given you the ways we're going to sell your house. International MLS, they're going to hear that. Well, there's a lot of international MLSs. There's Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Zillow is international. But Google Ads will not only know that you in Ireland are looking at a house here in Vienna, they know what price range you're in. And when you open up your Irish Times, our ad is going to find you. So we don't, some people say, well, we use an international MLS. Well, international people have local agents, but we're still going after you. We're going after you on all the social media events and the Google ads. So that's kind of a look at our marketing plan that you want to go through. Now let's look at this. It starts with the pictures, and I may have shown you these before, but this is the house that was launched this weekend, and this is what it looked like the last time it was on the market. So if you're a seller, do you want to have that or that? Do you want to have this, which is us, this is what we did, or that? Now, look at how you bring in some color in the dining room, the richness of the floors, the sharpness of the walls, versus that. Morgan looked at this, we were going to the house and said, that's dated. That house is dated. And I went, oh, damn. And we walked in and said, this house isn't dated, this house is beautiful. This is what our picture looks like looking at your breakfast area. This is what their picture looked like. So again, our picture is important. If 90% of the people are going to find it online, yeah, it's really important. Very, very important. So you're either going to have this or that. So these are the foundation of what we're going to build. This is just the foundation of who we are and what we do. Now, you can, at this time, how are you going to demonstrate the house? Well, you could do a movie, but we found that movies are slow, they're grainy, they're not as clear as these pictures you just saw. So we want to present the house in a really nice light, and it's just too dark and it's just too slow. So we found that people only stay on the movies for about 15 seconds. The 3D models, again, the pictures aren't sharp and aren't as clear as they could be. And bottom line, buyers only stay on those for about 12 to 15 seconds. So both of those are nice, but they're novelty items. This is, although again, the cost of entry to this is $15,000 to $20,000 to build this. But when you do, the houses can be shown like this. So again, when you come down these websites, you can talk about the overview of the important things to sellers. You can break it down by level. You can have carousels for all of these properties. So you can look at the big, beautiful pictures. I don't know how to find it. Okay. You have a hot sheet. Again, space, features, and function. Here's your features. These are the features that they're looking for. You can have spectacular, really nice pictures. You can go over upper level, lower level, basement. You can do exterior, favorite things that they like the most about their house. So as far as how are we going to demonstrate this house, it's really hard to beat one of these. So you want to have at least a website that you can direct everybody to. It may not be as sophisticated, but you want to have one of these. Or when you partner with our team, this is the way the listing is going to be displayed when we do it. And by the way, let me go back. These distances are extremely important. how far away am I from my transportation hubs? How far am I away from my work? How far am I away from my, you know, where do I eat? Where, you know, where's the shopping? So these maps are very, very important so they can learn a little bit more about the community. So let's go a little deeper now about how we go after each one of our markets. These are the buyers. This is an ad. You can see up here that the ad has reached 5,556 people. You can see how many people have liked it, how many people looked at the post, how many people love it. But this is the critical thing, and I move this over here for you so you can see this. Maybe I was working on it and it moved. All right. So you can see that this is the ad we put up, and this is, again, Julie's specialty thing. She's got on all these websites. Each one is different. Each one has its own rules, and the Google Ads is one of the more important things. But this tells me how many people have gone and looked at it. So now here's where the rubber meets the road. Some people say, oh, we use social media. Okay, there's two different kinds of social media. There's an organic viewing, which is right here. So 31 people click through to the website. But if you boost it to that, remember the audience I described to you, 30 somethings or 40 somethings, or where they work, or how much money they make, or where they looked at houses. 2,300 people click through to the website from the boosted group and 31 from the unboosted group. So you can see this is 40 to 1, right? 40 times the amount of people do that. So when I'm looking at this chart every day, I'm trying to see, are we in the right buyer pool? I mean, are they looking at it are we in that 20 to 30 to 40 times the amount of organic ads looking at it? It's like, yeah, we are. So I know that I'm on the money here, okay? So that's the buyers. So that's one of our markets. This is the delivery system that we're going after. Now, realtors, these are the realtors that have stored listings for one of the listings we just launched. You can see what company they're all from as well over here. And, to be honest with you, you want to talk about the power of Samson Properties. In this one listing, 23 of the stored searches were from our own agents. There they are right there. So then we describe that, Samson Properties is a little bit different. We don't compete against each other. We do sometimes, but I mean, we have more of our culture is of helping each other, which is why we're having these classes. It's helping each other and working together more than working apart. So unlike Long and Foster, nothing wrong with them, or Keller Williams, nothing wrong with them. We try and work as a family, and Danny pushes the family culture, and Bernie pushes the family culture, and so does Donnie. So, now every agent, regardless of what company they come from, is going to get an email, and it's really nice, and it's very thorough, and it goes over the space, feature, function, all the great things about this house. And when Michelle sends this email out, you can see the spike in how many times the agent saw it and how many times the buyers went and looked at it, because they'll just ricochet it to their buyers. So very, very powerful when Michelle does send this out to our 200, 300 realtors that are interested in it. We get a huge bounce, and it's from that bounce that I can predict, are we going to get a listing, are we going to get a sale or not? How many contracts can we expect? So just to give away next week, this is a powerful way that we go out after buyers. The next one is the renters. So remember, we've got the buyers, the agents, the renters, and the homeowners. So these are the renters. This is the card they're going to get. Now, instead of Vienna Expert and Resident, you'll have, buy this house and get $16,000 rebate. But we're going to send this to all the renters, and renters are important because they may not have a ton of cash. So we definitely emphasize you will get a rebate if you come through us. Now, if there's 512 neighbors, let's say you're in Franklin Farms and you have a 3,600 square foot house. Well, there are hundreds and hundreds of houses in a smaller houses in your subdivision. Love Franklin Farms, grown out of the house. So this goes to neighbors that are in that same area, same neighborhood, same amenities, same school, but their house is too small. So they may want to move up, maybe only a block or two away, but they want to move up. So it's very important that you send out this really cool looking brochure to all those people. So what does the brochure look like? Glad you asked. So if you send that brochure out, it's got all the cool things about this house, big pictures of kitchens, master bedroom, bathrooms, the layout of the house, making it look like, as beautiful as we can make it look with these key pictures. Then it also lists the top features. It has a hot sheet, all the things, just put in a roof, just changed the HVAC units, just did the hot water heater. So all of these, important things you need to know. And where we got the hot sheet from is, what do people ask you when they come to the open house? How old's this? How old's the roof? How old's the HVAC unit? How old's the hot water heater? Is it well and septic? Is it city water and sewer? I mean, what, blah, blah, blah. So these are all the things that they ask that are on this hot sheet. And then of course, the final page is, what do the sellers love the most? Now, there's a reason why you see these nice, relaxing sitting, because this is the sizzle. So this is the sizzle on top of the steak. The rest was the steak. This is the sizzle. We really try to get them excited right here on the back page. And we're talking about what we love most about the house. So this is a falling in love with this house page. So this brochure goes out to 512. Now, I can tell you this, if you're competing with another agent, they are not talking about going after buyers, going after renters, going after sellers in their neighborhood, or they're not talking about going after realtors. They're talking about themselves. They're talking about their company. Why is Long & Foster so good? Why is Keller Williams number one? Why is this? How's our MLS, international MLS can help you? So let them talk about themselves and their companies. We're focusing on what are we going to do? What is the marketing plan for this house? How do we intend to get the maximum people walking through that door? Because only then will we be able to get the highest and best price and best terms. So in summary, and again, little old man told me when I was doing seminars a long time ago, it's funny, I guess I'm now the old man, but he walked up to me and he said, Sonny, if you're going to have a seminar, tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you just told them. It's the only way to get it through. So when I'm done with the seller, we're going to summarize the marketing plan. We're going to identify your buyer pool. We're going to prepare all these spectacular presentations, because your house got to be the star. Okay. Whether it's a card or a brochure or a website or a website ad, a Facebook ad, it's got to be spectacular. We want to make sure we use the right delivery systems for each one of those markets. We want to really market heavily in the coming soon, because only then can we know how many people we have that are, favoring the house. Are we in the right price range? Are we ready to go? And then we need to read the market conditions. Here's the other thing. If I have 8 houses on the market that are active and none under contract, I'm going to price it a little bit different than I am if I've got 8 houses under contract and no house is active. So we need to read the market and understand where that market is at the time of launch. And then we need to launch with confidence. We need to go out there. I was so confident that this house you're looking at, I was so confident this house is going to sell. I bet 250 Vienna and chili dogs that I could sell it within 10 days. Okay. Now, consider the market at that level sells in an average of 113 days. I knew, based on not a big buyer pool, but on the quality of the house, there's somebody walks in it. I don't need a lot of buyers walking in it, but I know if they do, they're going to buy it. So then you can launch with confidence when you go out. And this will tell you, if I'm going to have multiple contracts and somebody brings a contract in the first day and says, take this contract, it's like, based on our predictability and our numbers, we think there's going to be between 3 and 6 contracts coming out of this house. So we're just going to have to wait. So these are the things we want to summarize with the seller. And in the end, they'll kind of say, well, you're pretty bold about these predictions. You think, whatever. Well, 31 of 33 of the homes we put on the market in 2020, half of those under the lockdown period has sold in an average of 8 days. And so you've got 31 out of 33 either under contract or sold And I think we might have had one or two go over 30 days. Pretty much the average is under 8 days. And this is consistent. I mean, since 2017, we've done 200,000 listings and our $200 million worth of listings in our portfolio, and they've sold at 100.02% of the list price. So pretty, you know, we could speak from confidence. And it's funny, I was in this with this seller and the other day, and we were struggling because the seller was getting conflicting advice from these other realtors and arguing actually with me about some things. And I said, well, this is all I can tell you, that if we do 100 listings a year and 85 people do exactly what we tell them and they sell in the first weekend with multiple contracts and limited home inspections, if any, and 15 people don't take our advice and they struggle and have a hard time and get less price than they're worth and go through nasty home inspections, you know, so if 15% of the people don't do what we ask and suffer, and 85% of the people do what we tell them and benefit, then it's my job to tell you that this is what the 85% are doing and encourage you to do it. Why? Because I've seen what happens if we don't do it. I've seen how that works. So again, we need to, as agents, start talking about specializing in what we do. So instead of spreading ourselves thin, I don't spread ourselves thin at all. I focus on getting clients. I focus on closing clients and setting a plan and going back and finding more clients. So I'm stuck in 1 and 2. That's where I'm at, and that's where I'm happy. And now that I've got Zoom, I could pull in a lot more people and we can work together in this group. So Julie and Michelle are professional experts on the 3. Once you get into 3 and you want to prepare a listing and launch it out and do it right, no problem. We're going to hit the maximum amount of market with precision. Okay. As far as the last one, I'm selling the house. That's what my alt agents do. And they will help, you know, if somebody partners with us and says, I've got a client and I still want to do the sale, you guys just do 2 and 3. Okay, that's fine. So that's a 50-50 deal. So, you know, we live in an age of specialism, and I think it's about time that we really start focusing on that. And I don't want you to join my team because I don't want you to lose your own identity. You want to keep your identity. You don't want to be Casey Samson team. Keep your own identity. Just bring us in. We'll package it up and you sell it. And when it's over, sure, we'll have a card out with our picture on it and your picture on it. And away it goes to all your friends and family and neighbors and everybody that you know. On your Facebook, you've got 500 or 600 people. They would like to see that just sold by Jimmy or Bernie or Yvette or Lucy or whoever the heck it is. They want to see that. So you still get credit when it comes time for promoting the social media. You get credit for that. Your friends will know that you just sold a house. And then they'll come to you for another one. And whether it looks like you're partnering with the Casey Samson team, that's not a bad thing because, hey, I'm working with whatever, you know, these guys do X amount of business per year. The bigger we get, the better you look. So that's what I would be proposing for that. So I'm going to whip off I'm going to get out of the stop sharing the screen. I'm going to try and see if I can get my picture back up here without getting stagnant. And I'd like to get some feedback, if I can, from Michelle or Morgan about, are we still lagging? Did that come across or what's going on?
I can see you now, Case.
Okay.
We can see you. When you had it up on the screen, it's fine. Your picture itself is a little grainy, but you know, it is what it
Well, that's what Mom's been telling me for the past 35 years. A little grainy. Well, I'm not really the star of the show. The star of the show is understanding the process of the marketing plan. So when I walk into a listing appointment, again, the 3 pillars are, we're gonna have some empathy for the seller. We're gonna get to know them. We need to know where they're headed, where they're going, you know, what they're really interested in, what the end goal here is, how much time we have, why are they selling? Are they moving up, down, divorced, getting married, getting kids? You know, what are the situations here? So, but after that, it's the 3 pillars. we're going to talk about pricing. And again, we'll go over, the things that prevent you from pricing correctly. You know what, Morgan, I'm going to do? I'm going to throw it back on my razor and see if that makes me grainy. How does that look?
Good.
That
a
looks
lot
much
better now.
better.
That looks really good.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right. So again, we've finished now with more than half of this master series. And again, you can keep going back to some of these. And let's say you're doing it yourself and say, hey, I'm independent, I want to do it myself. Again, with the understanding, I never do anything myself. Never. Tried it. Can't because you can't be an expert in everything. And if you are want to do things at a high level, you just can't be an expert on everything. You know what happens? You end up sticking your hand as you're trying to learn how to do Google ads and Google this and Google that and PowerPoint and Excel. You're not out trying to get clients. I personally want to do two things. I want to get clients, I want to prospect, and I want to close deals. And that is price them, stage them, and put together the marketing plan. That's it. And then it's back to it. So that's how I specialize. That's my partner. That's my bring to the table in this. The agents bring to the table, maybe they got the client. Okay, I got a client, I got a listing opportunity, let's go. Get them in. By the way, and I just had one, Jennifer sent me one, where she just wants, pass it on to us, you do it. But the other one, somebody that she knew, and she wanted to do the balance too. She wanted to bring the client, and she wanted to do the actual selling of the listing once we had it prepared. So obviously, one deal is going to be a 25% referral fee. One, we're going to split it 50-50. So that's the way it is. And if you're looking to partner with somebody, not that you have to partner with the KC Samson team, plenty of capable people out there in our deal. But, to be honest with you, I have to look at, when I'm partnering with one of my agents, who is the best agent to do that deal? Who is the best agent on my team that specializes in that? Who can bring it to the table? I couldn't get a listing in Franklin Farms with my life dependent on it, but when Pam walks in the door, it's done. It's absolutely done. So you need to, be thoughtful about who you're going to partner up with in certain things, in certain areas. And in fact, somebody looks at me and goes, hey, do you want to do one in this area? It's like, no, but I'll tell you who's really good you want to partner up with in that area, that woman or that guy, that agent. So, we may not be the right partner in everything. We may have other people that we would refer you out to, and other people refer people to us. If somebody wants to do a $1.4 million one in Vienna and they're in Gainesville, well, let's partner up, because if they walk in the door and they run into Lillian or Casey or Margano or Terry Belt or they're going to murder you. They're just going to murder you because they have so much name recognition around here. But they don't survive if they go up against us. Go ahead.
So we just had a question somebody asked, and I think it'd be good to touch on live for everybody. Somebody said, if we can't afford the $15,000 website, what's a good alternative? How can I do that? We originally started with Spark. Adobe Spark is a great application. It's free, and it's a good baseline to start building websites for your listings. It's not going to be as in-depth and, beautiful as like what we do on our website, but it's definitely a good alternative.
Maybe you don't need a website. If you're not really competing, in order for me to do the volume we need to do, I need to compete for most every listing. So if you're not competing, if it's friends, family, maybe you don't need that website. Maybe you don't need it.
Casey.
Okay? But I will say that I think that, First Heritage has websites they do for our agents or, stuff like that. But look at other alternatives other than building. I've got to sell $1.8 million houses, so I need that. So you may not need that. You could partner with somebody that has it, and now you own it, okay? Or don't do it at all. So go ahead, Billy.
There's just one. There's one question in here on our per listing cost. Do you want to touch on all of the different costs, or?
Yeah. So what does it cost to produce a listing? Well, I've already spent the $15,000-$20,000 on the website, so that doesn't cost me anything to produce that. To send out the folders, it may cost $1 a folder. To send out the cards, it costs me, 40 cents a card. So I think that Danny pays, and Julie, you could step in. I think Danny pays for a lot of the cards that go out to renters. I think it's 300, right, Julie?
100 free?
I think it's 300 renter cards that you can send out at no charge. So let's say I want to send out those brochures, it's going to cost me $500. Let's say I want to get pictures, that's going to cost me $250. Or signs are going to cost me $35 to put them in and $35 to take them out. So let's call it $1,000. Yeah, I would say it's going to cost about $1,000 to produce a listing. And again, that's why, people want to get a listing and say, I'll do a movie and I'll do this and I'll do that. That movie is going to cost you $450 to $500. So it's not extraordinary that an agent would pay $1,200 to $1,500 for a listing that's improperly priced and is never going to sell. So again, time, energy, and money. So
and that doesn't bring in your time, my time, the other agent's time, the referring agent's time, Michelle's time, Julie's time. All of those are, costs that you can't really quantify.
Well, and again, if we do a 50-50, I've accounted for that. I've accounted for all Michelle and Julie's time and alt agent. If we're getting 50%, don't worry about our team. We'll split up the 50% appropriately. But the agent who gets 25% for bringing the deal in, 25% for selling it, then you get 50%. So I would just assume they focus on, what they're going to get in their costs. Now, when we split everything, as we always do, the expenses will just come off the top. If we get an $18,000 listing commission and there's $1,000 in expenses, that comes off the top, and then we split it 50-50. So, that's just the way we do all our stuff. So what other questions do we have?
We have a question here that says, how do you convince sellers to pay 5% when most of our ads say 4.5%, especially for homes over $1 million?
Good point. So we say, does your house qualify? Does your house qualify for a 4.5%? If we're being brought in, it's 5%. And if we have to renovate a house or do work on a house, it could be 6%. But my whole system is set up that if a seller walks in my door, let me give you an exact example. So I get a lot of home light referrals, okay? And we have to charge 5% because we give home light 25%. So if home light, if I go in, I said, yeah, the cost of this listing is 5%. And they said, well, on your website, it says 4.5% if we qualify. Well, home light, you went to home light, you didn't come to me. You went to home light referred you to me, so I have to give them money. So it's a 5% referral fee. Now, here's the good part. The good part is you wouldn't even have known about me if it weren't for home light. We wouldn't even be sitting here if it wasn't for home light. So they earn their money. And it would be the same with the agent. If an agent brings someone in, well, that's, if you had called, if you call us direct, then that's it. You have an agent, and the agent knew who we were and that we were the best team to solve sell your house. So that's a 5% listing. So yeah, it's not hard for us to go from 4.5 to 5. It is not misleading. It is not, what do you call it? A bait and switch. It's very simple. We walk into a house, it's in great shape. We don't have to do a thing. We put it on, we sell it, it's efficient. The seller gets 4.5 because they've done their job. They fixed their house up correctly. They're pricing it correctly. They came directly to us. It's 4.5. That's efficient. Let's go. If it came through home light, it comes through agents, comes through anything else, it's just 5%. It's very simple. The average listing in America is 5.1%. That's it. Not a big deal. But Billy and I just did a deal where we had to bring in Jimmy Mulhern to redo the whole dang house. That's a 6% commission. That's a lot of work. Billy's lugging, that was 10 times more work than we had to do for a normal listing. So yeah, it's 6%. So we're very careful to say, does your house qualify for a 4.5% listing? Go ahead. Do you have any other questions out there, Michelle?
We have how much rebates do you give to renters?
Yeah.
Well, if they come directly to us and they're looking at a house that I'm getting ready to sell, it's a point. So in that house, it's $16,000. On the $800,000 house, it's $8,000. So if you buy this house from me, it's $8,000. We still have to do home inspections, contracts, kickouts, appraisals, financing. We still have to do all of that. So, you know, they will get a 1 point rebate for coming in and buying the house, and they want it and they need it. So we're cool with that. Do we negotiate? No. No. I don't negotiate commissions. I don't negotiate all that stuff. It's like, hey, this is our protocol. This is what we do. You got it. All right. Anything else? Anybody else have any great questions?
Julie asked who represents the renter. A lot of times it would be the alt agent. So if I'm the alt agent on a property, Casey would represent. I would break away from the seller and the listing agent at that point. Then I would represent the buyer. So, you know, I would be in that role of the selling agent where the fiduciary responsibility to, you know, do what's best for the buyer is in my hands. But at the same time, you know, we're kind of working on the same wavelength with everything. So
it really depends. It depends on the sophistication of the buyer. If the buyer has purchased 2 or 3 houses, we're going to tell them we represent the seller. And you know, we're going to abide by the code of ethics of treating you fair, but we can't give you any advice. We can tell you you're going to do a home inspection. You're going to have an appraisal contingency. You'll have every contingency in that contract you would have if you were our client buying another house. But, you know, we work for the seller. Now, if there's multiple contracts, the benefit of going through Billy, of course, going through other people is, you know, obviously we'd rather have things inside the team because it's easier to work through all the home inspection issues and problems with our agents than it is someone else. So
another question is, do you ask the sellers for a retainer fee?
Never.
Yeah. I don't think we've done one of those in the 200 listings I've seen come through that we've done, or 300 listings the past 4 years.
Yeah. I don't need it. When you're done with your 3 pillars of pricing, staging, and marketing plan, I don't need that. I'm just looking to get the deals, get them in, get them priced, get them in the pipeline, get them into Julie's and Michelle's hands, have it come out the back end with me predicting, you know, launch 3 or 4 a weekend, have 3 out of the 4 go under contract, and then get that 4th one under contract shortly thereafter. That's the process. Not looking for trouble. I got some other raised hands. What do we got?
I don't see any other questions in here.
Casey, did you make sure to turn off your chat box at the beginning?
You know, Michelle, you tell me that all the time.
It's okay. I would just double check that really quick.
And basically, I have no idea how to turn it off. All it says is mute. I don't know.
As long as you don't have anything in your actual chat, but
in the questions and answers, I may have something in here. It says chat is disabled on my end. Thank you, Teresa.
Perfect.
Do you take overpriced listings? Absolutely not. It is a waste of time, energy, and money. And Jennifer, let me tell you how we get around that. So I'm going to be real thorough at producing a price that nobody can dispute. And let's say that I had a listing and it just happened. It's on Lupine Drive. And I was locked in at 1195, probably between 1175 and 1195. The seller was adamant, 1225. Got it, it's 1225. I said, I'll make a deal with you. We'll put it in coming soon. We'll market the living heck out of it. We'll send everything we got to do at 1.225. And then I'm going to read all of the feedback I'm getting on this 1.225. If I don't have enough favorites, if I don't have enough people looking at it, We're dipping back under the $1.2 million. We're going to 1195. And he said, deal. I said, okay. So we put it on at 1225. He didn't have anybody looking at it. He didn't have any favorites. He didn't have anything. None of the criteria were met for us to launch at 1225. He acquiesced. We went at 1195, put it under contract after a week. And Morgan can attest, it's been a hairy road getting through the home inspection. But let me tell you something, and this is another deal. You know, home inspections. Why do they hire us as realtors? Home inspections. Well, you know, if we do have that one listing that goes beyond, you know, the 30-day period, and we only have one buyer, or we only have one buyer no matter how many days it's been on the market, and a home inspection comes back, it's our job to negotiate that home inspection down. Now, we just had a home inspection for $40,000. That was what the buyer was looking for. But after we went over pricing models, what the house was worth, the condition, and we proved that he was already getting a discount for the house, but there were some things that really needed to get fixed. So we went in at 40, we got out at 5, and that's when kind of partnering helps, because at first Morgan's like, oh my God, they want 40. My seller says 0. And I immediately said, it sounds like we're getting close. It really sounds like we're right there, you know, because we knew where it was going to happen. We went out, we got estimates, and we started whittling it down and whittling it down. Before you know it, we had them talked down to 5,000. And I went to the seller and I said, take the 5,000. Take the 5,000. I've seen what happens when we don't. It's not going to be pretty. Take the 5,000. So Morgan did a great job, and Colby did a great job of getting that buyer down $35,000. And when we got to the point where we couldn't get another $5 out of them, I turned to the seller and said, take it. I'm telling you, just take it. And he was very thankful. First he was a little, and then he was very thankful. Was he not, Morgan?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, you know, what I had to say to him, he's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much goes into selling a home and this and that. Do you guys see this a lot? And it's like, well, yeah, we do see this. And that's why when you're choosing who to list your house with, you really need professionals to come in and take over, because you never know, things can go, you know, this is what we deal with every day. And so by the end of it, it was a long road, but he had nothing but great things to say. He loves us.
Yeah. Well, you know, we knocked it down 35 grand. And, you know, that's not just, you know, an aberration. That stuff happens all the time. So, okay. So let's see. Lynn has, I don't know, somebody's gonna have to read that one. That's too much writing. I can't see that far. Do you think it's worth,
Not the growth model, I think, Case.
say again?
Are you talking about pricing? I tried looking at historic growth. Yeah, it's just the growth model. I think she's asking about how we use our growth model, and she's saying that it goes up and down year to year. Got it.
Right. So I'm gonna tell you what time it is. I'm not gonna tell you how to build a watch, but the quick and easy way is to go to Smart Charts, go from the date he bought it to the date today, go for price per square foot, and that either zip code, price range, size, and then it will give you a growth chart. You can look at that and say, well, if the rest of the market for this price and this size house in this zip code appreciated 8%, then I'm going to apply that 8% to what you bought it for at 1195. And then, so it's 1195 plus 8% increase. Then you say, what special things did you put in the house? Then as a realtor, we've got to know, if you did $100,000 worth of improvements, you're going to get between $25,000 and $50,000, maybe 75 if you did something that everyone in the world wants. But the rule is usually about 50%. So it's 1195 plus 8% plus $50,000 for the improvements. That's how it arrive at what the estimated value is. Using the growth method. Okay. Now I had a bunch of questions up here and now they're all gone. So what happened to them? Do we know?
I was answering them in the.
We answer in the chat.
Well, if we can, I'd like to answer some of these. I've got about 10 more minutes. I'd like to answer them.
The last one was, how long does it take you to put the house on the market from ratify contract. I think she's talking about when we agree to list the home, when it's ready, or from the moment it's ready. Also, what would be the timeline from contract to listing?
10 days to 2 weeks. And 10 days to 2 weeks is how fast we can get a house on the market if it's ready.
Yep.
We're going to do that on Thursday. We will have a house on the market on Thursday in Centerville. It's freaking awesome. It's in Virginia Run. And I think we only met with them maybe 2 or 3 days ago. So that'll be 1 week from there. So let's say 10 to 14 days is our fastest. And then my time period I have a listing for is 4 months. But I tell the sellers, if I'm still here in 30 days and this house hasn't sold, something's wrong. Either I don't want to work with you or you don't want to work with me, but something's wrong.
And then just to piggyback on if it's, if it needs paint, if it needs hardware, if it needs lighting fixtures, it's typically a week or two longer. So if we can do it from 10 to 14 days, if it's in ready to go shape, typically it's 3 to 4 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, I guess. If it needs, paint,
right,
fixtures and whatnot and hardware.
And we don't want to do a ton of stuff to the house, but I can't walk in and see 1985 look at me right in the face. I can't do it. You can't do that.
And
you're going to get murdered.
If you put 4,000 or 5,000 in and it returns 25,000, I mean, you're losing money if you don't put that money in. Sells quicker, better terms, more money.
I tell every seller that if Las Vegas had a gambling game, that you could give them $5,000, and if you lose, you get the $5,000 back. But if you win, you get $35,000. Would you bet the $5,000? Well, of course, anyone would, because if you lose, you get the $5,000 back. Fine. Well, that's exactly what it is when you're doing your house. If you put $5,000 into it, you could get $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 back, maybe more. But you're at least going to get the $5,000 you put in, at least that. Which you're going to probably get, based on the 100 deals we do a year, you're probably going to get about $20,000, $25,000 back, maybe $35,000. So again, would you make that bet? I make that bet. I don't like betting in Las Vegas. Danny does, I don't, but hey, it is what it is. But I make that bet if I get my money back and I lose. What do you use to track and categorize realtors besides Google? I'm not sure what that means. Track and categorize. I use MRIS. And I tell the seller, it's like, look, my number is 3012-103 or whatever it is. I said, here's mine. Run my have the competitors run my track record. You give me their codes, MRIS codes, and I'll run their track record. Let's put our track record against each other, because here's why. He said, I'm really struggling because they're giving me advice that's different than you. Okay? So I need to authenticate their advice. If they did 2 deals a year, then I can tell you their advice just doesn't have the historical data to give that kind of information. And if they've done 50 deals and 48 have sold and they sell in an average of 10 days, I'm like, we just have a difference of opinion. He's as skilled and has as much background as I have. And you know what? Sometimes people just disagree. I think this is the way you got to do it. He says that's the way you got to do it. Tie goes to the seller. You got to decide which one you think. But this is all I can do is share with you our experiences and authenticate data. That's all I can do. Okay?
In case, just so everybody is aware, our next masterclass, number 6, is on predicting traffic and contracts. So you're getting a lot of questions about predicting the traffic incoming soon and how that will relate to how many contracts we get for the home. So just make sure that you're tuning in next week for that as well.
Got it. That's good. All right. So I think we've got enough of them. We're at just past the hour that we came on. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming in, sitting through this, but I will tell you that the marketing plan is extremely important. To summarize just very quickly, the marketing plan for the house is basically just coming up with, the message, the market, and the delivery system. And you know who your market is. You know what your message is to them. Now you know how to deliver it to them. You either come up with your own way of doing it. You can partner up with us. You can partner up with another experienced agent. But I think that if Keller Williams is all about teams, I think we're more about partners. I'm about partners. I don't, because we don't train, we do transactions. All we are is a transaction machine. The buyer comes in, we do the listing appointment, we get through the pricing, the condition, and the marketing plan. We get in the hands of 2 professionals and 3 professionals that know how to do it. It comes out the back end. We have a predictable outcome, and away we go. And we need to make that engine go like this a lot. So we are a transaction team, not an education team. Can't tell you how the watch works, just tell you what time it is. So now, as you go through a few of these with us, then you'll start feeling the rhythm and seeing how things work. But, you know, just remember one thing. I'm one of the more successful agents here at Samson, and I don't do anything without partnering with agents. So I think it's important that we all get together and partner. Okay, is that it? All right, guys, you can find out any of my information at the Samson University has every one of our classes in there at Samson University. It's got a little thing on the menu that will take you to, you know, the Casey Samson Master Series or whatever. But I just want to emphasize one more thing, and that is never, ever in all my career of working, which is, I don't know how many years it is, 40 or something, ever have I seen a team of professionals like Julie and Michelle and Kate helping them out, and Billy and Morgan and Kelly and Pat and Colby and Pam, just really soup to nuts, beginning to end. And all of this stuff that you see right here is not just me. I mean, it literally is, you know, Billy brings one thing, Morgan brings another thing, Kelly brings this, Pat brings that, Pam brings this, Julie's bringing in more. So, you know, Morgan's bringing in this and Michelle's doing that. And it's a collaboration. This is a collaboration. So for those of you that try and do everything on your own, I'm just not sure that that's the way to get the best practices of everything going. So, so Julie and Michelle, I want to thank you guys for everything you do. And please thank Kate for me, Billy, Michelle, Morgan, Pat and Pam and Colby and who did I forget? Morgan?
Kelly.
Kelly. You know, I hate to mention one because I know I'm going to forget
see who the favorite daughter is.
Well, but I'll tell you, it is a collaborative effort. So thank you guys very much. We'll see everybody next Thursday at 2:00. If you need us or you have a client, then, you know, all you got to do is give us a call or send me an email. Emails are best. Send me an email and say, I got a client who's thinking about selling his house. We set up a Zoom presentation and then we take it from there. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week. My name, let's see, phone number 703-508-2535 or Casey@CaseySamson.com. We'll see you next week.